Welcome to this explainer brought to you by Forge College. I'm so glad you're joining us today. We're going to unroll some fresh blueprints here and dive straight into the Solana transactional model and key differentiators for data. Basically, we are stepping right out onto the bustling high-speed factory floor of the Solana runtime. We're going to pull back the curtain on how Solana handles data at its core, looking at the strict transaction boundaries and parallel execution rules that actually make it so incredibly fast. Now, you might remember that in our last session together, we tackled yesterday's blueprint, writing basic and advanced test cases. We did the work, right? We made sure our code was totally robust. But today's schematic is a bit of a pivot. Today, we're looking at transaction boundaries. See, before we can even think about optimizing our dApps, we absolutely have to understand why Solana's data behaves the way it does. We know stored bytes are basically just sitting there, completely inert, until a transaction comes along to deserialize, modify, and serialize them back. So how does that transaction actually operate in the wild? Well, here is our agenda for this explainer, sketched out for us. First, welcome to the factory. Second, reserving your machines. Third, the instruction packing trade-off. Fourth, blueprinting an NFT marketplace. Fifth, 3 key design principles. And finally, number 6, preparing for data flow. Let's get right into it. Okay, section 1. Welcome to the factory, the Solana runtime as a factory floor. To really wrap our heads around this, I want you to visualize the entire Solana execution environment, not as some abstract, floaty code in the cloud, but as a massive, highly efficient, and insanely busy factory floor. On this factory floor, a transaction is simply a signed work order. That's it. This work order contains a list of instructions, along with a very specific machines, which in our case we call accounts, that it needs to actually get the job done. Now, the golden rule of this factory is super simple. Your work order literally cannot even begin until every single machine it requires is completely free and ready for use. If someone else is using your machine, you're waiting. Moving to section 2, reserving your machines, account locks, and atomicity. So, how do we make sure these highly valuable machines don't get double booked? We need a system to manage the absolute chaos. Think of it kind of like that one coworker who tries to reserve the only office coffee machine for the entire day. We need strict rules so everyone gets their coffee without a brawl breaking out in the break room, right? And that brings us to account locks. At execution time, the runtime determines a lock mode for each account you requested. You can ask for a read-only lock, which is awesome because multiple people can look at the machine at the exact same time. But if you need a read-write account, you get an exclusive lock. You are essentially hanging a massive, dark green, out-of-order sign on that machine for everyone else on the floor. Absolutely no one else can touch it. This prevents parallel execution for that specific account until your transaction is 100% finished. So why is this locking so incredibly strict? Well, it's because of atomicity. This is a vital, non-negotiable guarantee on the Solana factory floor. It means your whole work order finishes perfectly or the entire thing gets crumpled up and thrown right in the trash. There are 0 half-built widgets here. Partial completion is never, ever visible on-chain. It's an all-or-nothing deal, and those locks, they're exactly what makes that guarantee possible. All right, section 3, the instruction packing trade-off, packing versus contention. As engineers, we face a core trade-off here. Do we pack all of our tools and processes into one giant, heavily guarded machine? Or do we give everyone their own tiny, separate, independent toolkit? This is the classic battle between packing and contention. Let's look at instruction packing for a second. This is when you bundle multiple instructions that touch related accounts into a single transaction. The massive, undeniable benefit here is that it preserves that all-or-nothing atomicity across all those instructions, and it saves you from making multiple round trips over the network. But the catch? You increase the footprint of locked machines. And more locked machines mean a much higher chance of causing a massive traffic jam on the factory floor, which drags down your overall throughput. Let's look at this engineering matrix we've sketched out. If you use a single account dense state, basically shoving everything into one big account, you get super high atomicity, but very low parallelism, meaning high contention. Plus, larger accounts cost more rent. On the flip side, sharded accounts, splitting your data across many accounts, gives you high parallelism because everyone can lock different machines independently. But obviously, you've got way more accounts to manage and lower atomicity across those shards. Then you've got the hybrid approach. This is often the sweet spot, though you really have to watch out for your index accounts becoming major bottlenecks. So the absolute crucial question you have to ask yourself when designing your layout is this: Will these transactions run concurrently at production load? It's a question we emphasize all the time at Forge College because designing for a nice, quiet test environment is totally different than designing architecture that can handle real-world stress. You absolutely have to map out those access patterns. Let's make this real. Section 4, Blueprinting an NFT Marketplace, Escrows and Listings. Let's take all these abstract mechanics and apply them to a concrete scenario. We're going to draft up an NFT marketplace right now. In this marketplace, we need to handle individual user listings, escrowed funds for buyers, and a global category index so people can, actually discover the NFTs. So let's map out the accept offer transaction step by step. This is the moment a buyer actually purchases an NFT. We need incredibly strict atomicity here. First, we lock the seller's listing account as read-write. Second, we lock the buyer's escrow account as read-write. Third, we lock the actual token account as read-write. And finally, we execute the atomic transfer. We have to bundle all these together in one single work order, because if any one of those steps fails, we want the whole thing to roll back. We literally cannot have a situation where a buyer's funds are taken, but the token just gets stranded out in the void. But what about that global category index we mentioned? Think about it. If every single accept offer transaction also has to lock the global index as read-write just to remove the listing, that index becomes our office coffee machine bottleneck. The entire factory will just grind to a halt. So the absolute pro move here is a hybrid design. Keep the core economic transfers completely atomic in one transaction, sure, but update the highly contested global index asynchronously. You can just leave a little tombstone flag on the listing saying, hey, this is sold, and let a completely separate out-of-band process clean up the index later. You trade immediate index perfection for massive, massive transaction throughput. Which brings us to Section 5, 3 key design principles, optimizing for the common case. Let's distill everything we've been drawing up today into a few concrete engineering rules for mastering this factory floor. If you want to optimize for the common case and build truly high-performance dApps, these are your golden rules. Rule number 1, choose small, independent accounts for high concurrency, frequent small writes. Shard your data so independent users aren't fighting each other for the exact same locks. Rule number 2, bundle related updates that absolutely must be atomic, like moving money and assets into a single transaction. And rule number 3, maintain global structures, like those indices we talked about, asynchronously, to avoid creating nasty contention hotspots. Always, always map out the accounts each transaction touches and properly label their read or write access modes. Section 6, preparing for data flow, the next module. Getting a grip on these strict constraints, the locks, the boundaries, the atomicity, is exactly what sets you up for optimizing your data flow in our next module. You really can't optimize your data flow until you deeply understand the rules of the road. So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a final, slightly provocative thought to chew on. How will you inventory the read and write locks of your dApp's transactions before we move into that next optimization phase? Because let me tell you, that inventory is the true key to unlocking massive scale on Solana. If you want to dive deeper into the subject, learn how to map out those exact data flows, and explore a ton of other fascinating Web3 topics, I highly encourage you to visit forge.college. There is so much more to uncover. Thanks for hanging out and checking out this Forge College explainer, and I will see you on the next one.